y'all, I'm Elisa, the Scrappy Wife behind ScrappyWife.com, and today I have a Bible journal process video for you. I'm going to be working with some sermon notes. So this is the planner that I take with me to church, and in it I have a section for sermon notes, and I take notes every Sunday, and a lot of times I like to transfer those notes in a creative way in my Bible. It allows me to kind of go over the notes again, revisit the sermon, revisit some of the lessons. So it's a great way to kind of internalize a lesson, a devotional, a something that you are studying. So that's why I am looking here. I'm going to be journaling in the book of Luke. We are looking at the story of the Prodigal Son, and I just have some scrapbooking supplies pulled out that I am planning on using. So I will put you all on fast forward. As always, I will link everything that I end up using down below that I can find online if it is still available. Otherwise, let's go. Okay, the scrapbook supplies I'm using are actually from the Hip Kit Club. I recently cleaned out my craft room, and so I have found some old supplies that are going to be making an appearance. So I apologize if I'm unable to find these online, but these are Hip Kit Club exclusives from March 2021. And the first thing that I am doing is pulling out some different paper pieces that I would like to use, starting with the girl holding the world, some butterflies and stars, just because I think they're beautiful and I think they'll kind of encompass the feeling that I'm getting with this particular entry. For this particular entry, I am focusing on the turning point in the story of the prodigal son, where he supposedly comes to his senses. It says, "When he came to his senses, he said, 'How many of my father's hired servants have food to spare, and here I am starving to death? I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants.' So he got up and went to his father." I am actually going to attempt to use my We Are Memory Keeper Printmaker for the first time in my Bible, and I'm super excited to give it a try. So I had several people ask about adding multiple lines of text, and you can only type in one line at a time. It doesn't have the automatic wraparound feature that like a word processor would have. So I am typing in my first line of notes that I want to put in, and you can see I type it in and it's humongous. I need to up the size of my canvas. I am definitely still learning this software, but there's no better way to learn than to just get started. I would say it's not the most intuitive software ever. It's definitely something that will take a little bit of practice to get used to. You can see I'm kind of extending out the length of my canvas here, and then I'm going to zoom out and I will reposition my text. So there's my text. My canvas is probably a little bit long, but that's okay. And then I'm going to add my second line. And my text says, "Coming to yourself means you can step outside what you're feeling and see the situation for what it really is." And what we discussed in the sermon was that in this point in the prodigal son story, he has a self-correction. He corrects his path. And in the Greek, it actually says, "Eis huten de elthon," which I might be saying incorrectly, but what that actually translates to is to himself having come, like coming back to yourself. I have my text all set. I changed the color to a purple color that goes with some of my ephemera pieces. I have practiced it on an extra piece of paper, and now I'm ready to print it directly onto my Bible, which is one of the reasons I purchased this We Are Memory Keepers Printmaker, just to see how it works. So I get it lined up. I have an extra piece of paper underneath just in case I go over the edge, which I do because I'm still learning. The beginning of where that light starts is where the writing will start. So it's pretty close to the edge there. I press go, press the green light, and ta-da! Now, I mismeasured, so it did go a little bit off. I'm glad I had the extra piece of paper, but it worked pretty well. So I was able to type out those notes. I certainly could resize them. You know, it's going to take some learning because you can't really erase that. I could cover that up and try again, but I'm not going to in this situation because only one little G got cut off and I can still understand what I'm trying to say. But the Printmaker, I mean, it's pretty cool. I was able to just type that out and put it in there, and you can size it accordingly. So will it take some getting used to? Yes. Is it worth it to take that time to get used to it? I think so. Now I'm going to start putting some elements on the page, and I have some vellum scallops here. And I just had someone ask me this weekend about how to adhere vellum to a page, and there's different ways to do it. I like to use a tiny attacher sometimes, or a stapler of some sort. A Xyron sticker maker is also an excellent option because it adds adhesive on the back that is a little bit more difficult to see, I guess. Because the adhesive is solid on the back, it turns the vellum piece into a sticker, and so you don't necessarily see it coming through. So the Xyron sticker maker is my other go-to method, and that's what I did. I just turned all these scallops into stickers, and I'm adding them to the bottom and the top of my page to kind of focus in on where the main title of the page, which is, that's going to be that phrase in Greek, which is the phrase that means himself, to himself having come, coming back to yourself, because that's what happens with the prodigal son. Is he leaves and he falls on these terrible times, and yes, some of them are a result of his choices. He suffered consequences for his choices for sure, but God never left him. God was waiting there, God being represented by the Father. And God is always there waiting for us to come back. So he's coming back to himself. He comes to his senses. He remembers who he is and whose he is, meaning who he belongs to. There were some chipboard stickers that came in this particular kit from the Hip Kit Club. I'm trying to figure out if I want to include any of those. The one that says family makes sense, of course, because of the prodigal son. I actually decide to use that circle that says home because he's coming home, and God is waiting for us to come home at all times, ready for us to self-correct, to readjust our path if we have wandered off and come back to him. After I get that set, I just can't decide where I want that third butterfly, the one in the middle. So I decide I'm going to put on the title, which is the words in Greek that I wanted to highlight. And after I have that down, then I'll be able to decide where that butterfly will go. And again, this is the phrase that happens at the beginning of verse 17, and it means to himself having come, which again can mean coming to his senses, but really coming back into himself, remembering who he is and where he is from and who he belongs to. And that was this realization he had that allowed him to self-correct and to come back to his Father and to ask for forgiveness. I have one other little set of notes that I want to add. So again, I'm coming back to my Printmaker software. You can work the software on your phone, or I'm working on my iPad, starting a new canvas. And again, I'll do 3 separate lines of text just because I want to have it all within one area. So I am writing out to himself having come, remembering who I am and whose I am. And again, I'm going to choose that same purple color so that it will match the text that I printed on the other side of the margin. And I'm just copying the first line of text so I know it's all going to be the same size font, and then deleting it and adding in the new typing. So I had a few questions, a few people that asked, does it spell check? Yes, it does, just like you would on when you're text messaging on your cell phone. So it's going to have that autocorrect feature. You want to double check because we all know sometimes autocorrect does not do it correctly. But in order to do multiple lines of text, you have to add multiple lines in this manner, and I'm going to print from here. Once you have your text or your image or whatever it is, you hit send to printer and it loads it into the printer. Mine is plugged in off camera. You can't really see it here. You bring your printer, get it all set up, press the go button, and it will turn green. And when it's green, it's ready to go. You press it again right there, and then you just roll it across and it starts. It is definitely a pretty cool little tool. I realize it's a little pricey, but I think that I'm going to be able to get some pretty good use out of it. So I'm excited to play with it even more. I am going to add a few hearts and then a paper clip, and this entry will be done. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider hitting that subscribe button as well as the bell notification button. I have linked all of the supplies that I can find down below. A heads up, some of those were Hip Kit Club exclusives, so I'm not sure whether they will be in stock anymore. A huge shout out to my Scrappy YouTube members. Thank you so much for supporting my little channel and making it possible for me to continue to put out this content. It really means the world to me. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to become a Scrappy YouTube member, then click that join button or check the link in the description box. All right, I hope that you have a fabulous day, and as always, keep it creative.